Hello and welcome once again to Murfer's Music Reviews! And this is our first monthly episode of Murfer's Music Reviews. Series 1 was all weekly episodes, but we've decided to space them out to once a month now, so we can do other videos in between, and it gives us more time to deal with copyright issues. Now on today's show, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. One of the things that really got me into the idea of doing these videos was Todd In The Shadows and his show One Hit Wonderland. But it's been about 6 months since Todd last did one. He may have done another one by the time I post this video, but yeah, he's been taking a while with that, and there's a lot of things that he hasn't covered yet. So these are some artists that he may eventually cover, in which case this version will no longer be necessary, because he'll probably do it better than I can. But these are just some of the artists that I was really hoping he would cover, and as he hasn't yet, I thought I may as well do them myself. So yes, I guess you'd say this is a special one-hit wonder episode of Murfer's Music Reviews, and as you can see, my brother has done a wonderful painting showing me attending a boxing match between Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, two friends of ours who are gorillas that box. And our friend Chimpy is the referee. So thank you once again to The Works for that. And yeah, also thanks to our sponsor. We should probably get to that next. It's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me. Murfer's Music Reviews is brought to you by Home for the LD Lee, where you can buy laserdiscs like this Tom Petty one behind me. And Tom Petty certainly wasn't a one-hit wonder. He had many, many, many hits. Between the Heartbreakers and his solo career and the Traveling Wilburys, the guy's a fucking legend. So yes, that's all I really need to say about Tom Petty. But it is a great example of something that you can only get on Laserdisc. At least I'm not entirely sure about this particular concert, but there are a lot of concerts that are only available on the Laserdisc format, and this is a great one. So yes, go to Home for the LD Lee. I don't know if they've got that in stock at the moment, but they'll have some cool stuff. Lots of bargains, lots of rare stuff too. Yeah, but that's one of my favourite things about the Laserdisc format. You get these really cool concerts that you can't see anywhere else. So yes, Home for the LD Lee. Now the first artist we're going to talk about today is Promises. They had a massive hit with their song, Baby It's You.
You whispered fire and cling tighter to me. I can't take no more. Oh, no. Baby, you make me feel the way that you do. You know I can't escape you now. Baby, it's you.
Now, Promises were three Canadian siblings of German descent, and for a little while there it looked like they were going to be the next big thing. This one song was huge, and yeah, people sort of saw great things for them. However, while most of the band were content with the soft rock sound that they were doing, their singer, Leslie Nauer, their all surnames are all Nauer, that's their surname because they are, as I mentioned, siblings. She wanted to go more punk or more sort of hard rock. Until the second single came out, and it wasn't anywhere near as successful, and things sort of broke down during the making of their second album, which was never finished. After the band broke up, the keyboard player went into music education and now runs a music school in Canada. And Leslie has been in several different bands over the years, mostly in more of the punk and metal sort of world. As well as doing some country sort of folky stuff as well. So she's had quite the interesting career. the career of Promises was, although promising, very, very short. As for that big hit, it is a favourite of mine, and I'm going to give it the 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. As for the second single, I can sort of see why it's a hit. It's a bit more sort of middle of the road. And so, on to the second artist that we're going to talk about today, Marcy Playground. Now, Marcy Playground are from New York, although singer, songwriter, and basically leader of the band, John Wozniak, is from Minneapolis originally. And the band got their name from the Marcy Open School that he went to. And those childhood memories would be heavily influential in the things that he would write about. Hopefully not with their big hit, which was called Sex and Candy. If it was his early school days, hopefully there's no sex involved. Candy, yes, lots of that for children, obviously, but the sex part, no. So, that was their big hit, but they actually had a few singles before that, one of which was called St. Joe on the School Bus.
St. Joe, he said he's never been dressed up like a woman. St. Joe, they said your dad was gay. They said your mom, she's a whore. They said until you were raw, yeah. And they said your mom, she's a bore. And they made her beg them for more. Oh man. Aunt Mary, Aunt Mary, Aunt Mary says they have the darkness there in their eyes.
So yeah, that's a pretty good song. It did have some success, but obviously not. It didn't set the world on fire the way that Sex and Candy would. But I think it's a good song, and it's yeah, I like the whole anti-bullying message that it's got, and yeah, that's all really good. And perhaps if that had been the hit, and then Sex and Candy came out,
Hanging round downtown by myself, and I've had too much caffeine, and I was thinking about myself, and then there she was in platform double suede. Yeah, there she was, like disco lemonade. I smell sex and candy here. Who's that lounging in my chair? Who's that casting devious stares in my direction? Mama, this surely is a dream.
people would have been more accepting of what came after Sex and Candy, because Sex and Candy has a very sort of grungy sort of feel to it, whereas St. Joe really doesn't have that. It's there, but it's certainly more pop rock. And so, yeah, when you hear the next single, Sherry Fraser,
Ooh, I saw stars falling all around her head. Red, gold, and blue. Sherry Fraser, where are you?
it's not really anything like Sex and Candy, and I think that people were hoping for something more like Sex and Candy. Then there was the first single from their second album, Saturday.
Mom, I'm dying. I'm dizzy and frying. My throat hurts. I think I should stay in bed. 'Cause I got some kind of disease, and there are no remedies. Think I should stay in bed today. Maybe tomorrow go out and play. It's Saturday.
And this is musically about as far as you can get from Sex and Candy, which is, quite a slow, grungy sounding song, and this is a very upbeat, sort of happy sounding song with yodeling and things like that. It's very unusual, and it certainly has a lot of pop appeal, but I can sort of see why that it didn't sell, because it certainly wasn't what people were expecting from Marcy Playground. And while bands should evolve, I think that's a great thing. Sometimes it can be to their detriment, and I think that maybe the audience that got into them from the big hit just weren't interested in this. It just really wasn't what they were after. The band have had a few lineup changes over the years, and they do have a following, but they've never had the same success as they had with Sex and Candy. They've tried reinventing themselves a couple of times, but it's, like I say, it's never really worked out, and some of the stuff they've released has been pretty good.
I am going down the long, lonesome road to Memphis, and I have come from the valley of the damned to Memphis.
But yeah, nothing has really lived up to those first. I'd say that personally I really liked it Saturday and St. Joe on the school bus, but at the same time I can kind of see why that perhaps they didn't take off with the audience the way that they'd hoped. As for Sex and Candy, it gets the 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. Up next we have Deep Blue Something with their worldwide smash hit Breakfast at Tiffany's.
You'll say the world has come between us. Our lives have come between us. Still I know you just don't care. And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember the film, and as I recall, I think we both kinda liked it. And I said, well, that's the one thing we got.
Now this song was actually inspired by an Audrey Hepburn film, but not the one you'd think. I was actually inspired by Roman Holiday, but they felt that Breakfast at Tiffany's worked better as a song. So, yeah, we'd have trivia for you. So after such a happy song like Breakfast at Tiffany's, how do you think they would follow that up? People were probably expecting another happy, upbeat pop song. Instead, they got Halo.
Souls suffer the landscape in the tracks of you as ghosts. Eternity is for searching, but a certain ascension grows. I've seen them wander, voices raised in prayer, consorting with whisper, they curse the ones not there.
And while Halo isn't exactly the most miserable song ever written, it is quite different to what people were expecting, and I think it was probably a bit too far away from what people were hoping for. Also, with the religious imagery and filming the video in a church, people might have started to suspect that they were a Christian rock group, which I can't find any reference to, but I think they may be religious, I'm not sure. But the point is that it might have looked that way, so I think that may have cost them some fans there. It would work for a certain audience, and they are from Texas, so it probably would work well in that sort of area, but at the same time on a world scale it was probably going to do them more harm than good. It's not a bad song, but I'd say that it's kind of forgettable and sounds like a lot of the other, especially the Christian rock music of that era. And I'd probably say the same for most of their other singles that followed.
Who am I to say what I believe is the way things should be? What am I to think what I got is what everyone wants? So what makes you so perfect, man? What makes you think that you're so special? She is everything that I could ever be. She is everything that I believe in.
They would eventually break up, but they'd get back together again, and the newer stuff actually sounds a lot more interesting instead of a bit heavier. So maybe that's the direction they should have gone in originally. It seems like they're more focused now, whereas before, a few times where I thought they were trying to chase trends and things like that, and it didn't suit them.
No one believes that it ever meant much to you. Since we've split, I've heard you've been running your mouth. Oh no. I know, you did it from your heart. But the blame receipts and
So, yeah, as for Breakfast at Tiffany's, I'm going to give it 3 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. And their other singles, both relatively good, but I wouldn't say any of them you don't really need to go out and rush out and hear them, because, yeah, nothing all that special. And so, on to our 4th one-hit wonder. It is Voyager with their hit, Halfway Hotel.
And I'm awful hungry, you know I could almost eat my words. I said I'd give up my vacation to take you right across the nation. And your mother thinks I'm crazy too. I'll tell you what I think we should do. Why don't we pull in at the halfway hotel? A long boat service at the ring of the bell, and we could sleep late.
Now, Voyager started out as a prog band called the Paul French Connection, named after their keyboard player and lead singer, Paul French. And there were certainly still prog influences in what they were doing, but they decided to go a bit more pop and a bit more mainstream. So after the runaway success of Halfway Hotel, they released their second single, Judas.
You speak of love as though you know what it means to give your heart and have it broken. You're so convincing in those intimate scenes, but what you give is just a token. You take it till the giving runs out, then make a scene and don't know what it's about. You get disgusted when you see her crying. No pretty words could ever hide your lying. Cheating your way to a heart.
Now, Judas is not a bad song. It perhaps is a bit more leaning into their prog influences, but I just think it's kind of forgettable, really. It doesn't really stand out. It could sound like about 100 different songs that were released that year, so yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly special about it, so I can see why it wasn't a hit. They then released their third single, which was called Total Amnesia.
You put yourself where you are, don't throw in the towel. Let's pretend that it's total amnesia. Change your clothes, begin all over again. Who are you? Who am I? Were you what you say you are, and I'm what you say? And you could be the one what you say you are today. I'm glad it's only total amnesia. That's no way to stay. Pick up all the pieces again. Stand around and make them laugh. They really believe that it's you. You had the feeling you were once in a dream, and you were part of a peculiar theme, where all the world was broken down and all so shallow. But now it's a happier place, and you will never ever leave it until they took you out of the race.
And I actually really like this one, but at the same time I can kind of see why it didn't take off. It sort of feels like they're trying to be 4 or 5 different things at once, and I'm not sure if any of them really connected. Paul French seems to be trying to look like David Bowie. The song itself seems to be somewhere between Wings, Yes, and about 5 other different groups. So I think that they were perhaps trying too much at once, but for me I think that really works, and I think it's great. But I'm obviously in the minority, as it wasn't a hit. They would continue on, releasing a few more albums, but they didn't release many more videos, so I don't have much else to show you. There's a few clips here and there.
Bring me around, fresh in the dawn. You open my eyes and show me the sun. I was getting ready to go. I was thinking of friends that I know. I made the mirror mine. I heard you tell me goodbye. It sounded so like a sigh. I heard you goodbye, but it went through my eyes like a storm.
But yeah, nothing all that special. And yeah, they did a few songs that sound a bit Billy Joel-ish. And yeah, it's okay. If it's sort of a lesser version of Billy Joel, I think you don't really need the lesser version of Billy Joel when you've already got Billy Joel being Billy Joel. I would have been more interested in Voyager had they gone more in that sort of Total Amnesia direction, although that probably wouldn't sell as well. But then again, what they did didn't sell that well either, so who knows what may have happened. But anyway, that's Voyager, and I'm going to give Halfway Hotel 3 out of 4 opposable thumbs up, but Total Amnesia gets the 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. And for our fifth artist, we're back to Canada with Tal Bachman, son of Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive. Tal Bachman had a huge hit with his song She's So High.
'Cause she's so high above me. She's so lovely. She's so high, like Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, or Aphrodite.
Now this song was actually inspired by, well I say inspired, he took the chords and put it in a different key, by the Sheryl Crow song If It Makes You Happy. And he has told the story of once playing the song and the person who wrote the song for Sheryl Crow happened to be in the audience. And he pointed at him and said, "And that's the guy I stole this song from." He would release a few more singles. The next one that I think is really worth mentioning is called If You Sleep.
Weary dance of contemplation, whispered bits of conversation, unaffected orderlies, our disinfected rooms and hallways. And if you sleep with God. And if I cry, it's for my heart. Why should I hope to make it through? 'Cause if you sleep, I'll sleep too.
Now, I think the lyrics are kind of crap, but I just love the vocal performance on here. I think it's amazing. I think the guy's got an incredible voice. And yeah, I just like that he goes from those really high notes, but he goes into that really raspy voice as well. And yeah, I just like the emotion in his voice, and I think that he's a great singer. This song wasn't a hit, but I'm sure I've heard it in a few romantic comedies and that sort of thing, and it certainly is very well suited to that sort of film. However, it was not as successful as She's So High, and neither were any of his follow-up singles.
From the moment I loved you, long before I'd even met you at all, I knew this day was gonna come. Oh, I don't wanna lose you now, I'm telling the truth. Oh, I could lie just a little, talk to you in riddles, play the whole charade, or I could stay in the middle, play you like a fiddle. I could masquerade, but I won't hide from you, darling.
He has since done some work with his father in various projects, including now being a member of Bachman Turner Overdrive. But perhaps one of the most interesting things that he's done in his career was he tried to rebrand himself as an English glam rock star called Ian Starglow. Now, unfortunately, this is where we get to some rather disappointing news about Tal Bachman. Unfortunately, one of his other interests outside of music is politics, and he is very much on the right-wing side of things. I think he claims to be a libertarian. But having looked at some of his political beliefs, he does seem to be very much more on the right-wing side of things. In fact, in an interview as Ian Starglow, where he explains why he became Ian Starglow, he does kind of make a bad transgender joke, which is very much the oldest joke in the book when it comes to trans people, so that is fucking disgusting, and so I think we need to get the Pirate King in for that.
Well, actually, I'm English now.
You're English now.
Yeah, I mean, being Canadian didn't really work for me, did it? So I decided to become English.
I don't understand why you would do such a thing. Why didn't being Canadian work for you?
lot of reasons, but basically I got to a point in my life where I realised, I saw Chastity Bono and all these people getting sex change operations, and I decided that I would have, not a sex change operation, not quite like being male,
No, yeah.
but that I would get a complete identity transformation, so I'm not really Tal anymore.
Wow.
Tal Bachman, aka Ian Starglow. You are a right-wing wanker, therefore you must walk the plank. Arr!
He done fell in the water.
So, well, I'm very disappointed to find out about the man himself. I can't deny that he does have an amazing voice, and he's also written some great songs. And so I'm going to give She's So High 3 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. And up next we have Patrick Hernandez with his worldwide disco smash, Born to Be Alive. While Patrick Hernandez seems to have a bit more success in his native France, his success outside of that country has been very much limited to just that one song. However, it wasn't his first single. That was I Give You Rendezvous.
Ride to Le Café La Paix. Mademoiselle, don't be late, s'il vous plaît. Tonight I'll give you a rendezvous. Rendezvous, rendezvous, rendezvous. 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 Rendezvous.
The follow-up to Born to Be Alive was Disco Queen, which did have some minor success.
She's a bitch, about 16, loaded with a 12-inch Caribbean. Her look from her is like a shot. The men around her, they get real hot.
But it is also essentially the same song, which is often the problem with disco. A lot of disco just kind of sound the same. It's the same beat, generally around the same sort of speed, same tempo. And yeah, I always found it a very limiting genre. It doesn't really go anywhere. Also, unfortunately for Patrick Hernandez, having his first big hit in 1979, and disco kind of becoming out of fashion by the end of 1980, he sort of got into it a bit too late, and as a result, I don't think he was going to have much more success if he stuck to disco. He did try and branch out. He did go a bit more rock on a few songs.
You're a high-speed mama, leave the rails behind. You're driving me crazy, going out of my mind. VA2 doesn't work anymore, and it's something I don't wanna see. VA2, 'cause you did it before. Now I'm a victim of reality.
But unfortunately, none of it really worked, and so he basically just became known as the Born to Be Alive guy. It is a shame, because he does seem to be a talented guy, and I'll probably give Born to Be Alive 3 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. And the next artist does have a sort of link to Patrick Hernandez, Sniff and the Tears, as I'd once read somewhere that their singer, Paul Roberts, actually wrote the English lyrics to Born to Be Alive, although I've not been able to find any confirmation of that, so take that with, I don't know about a pinch of salt, maybe an entire shaker of salt. So there may be some truth to it, but probably not. Paul Roberts' main gig is as an artist, a painter, which he is quite successful at, and that seems to be his main focus, and he does stuff with the band every now and then. Now, of course, their big hit is Driver's Seat.
News is blue, the news is blue. I just don't wait to get to you. What can I do? What can I do? I'll never remember my time with you. Pick up your feet. Got to move to the trick of the beat. There is no relief. Just take your place in the driver's seat. Driver's seat. Driver's seat. Yeah.
And I think this is one of the greatest songs of all time. Possibly just because it has so much going on. You have sort of funk, soul influences in there. There's also a lot of new wave influences, a lot of heavy rock, and also sort of acoustic folk rock. I find Paul Roberts' vocals to be similar to say James Taylor, and it's kind of, it almost feels a bit like a James Taylor song to a degree. At least that's how I feel anyway. I think there's something very James Taylor-ish about it, except done in a sort of more sort of new wave meets soul meets heavy rock sort of vibe. I even find he looks a little bit like James Taylor, but maybe that's just me personally. So with so much going on in that first massive hit, it is rather disappointing when you hear the follow-ups, none of which really do anything for me. They've sort of continued over the years, but Paul Roberts is the only real continuous member. Everyone else has been kind of replaceable, which is a shame because they seem like the original lineup were incredibly talented. And I'm sure everybody that's been in the band has been incredibly talented, but I think that they've just lost something each time they sort of reinvented the band.
About a year ago, I remember talking to you with the music we need down low.
Got this monkey sitting right on your shoulder. Do I respect your ideas? Took out the reason from all that I told ya and said, how does it feel to have one love, two together? One love, what could be better than that? You've got pain, you've got sorrow. We've got the rhythm of the driving beat.
So their other songs don't really do it for me, but I'm going to give Driver's Seat the Murph board. I just think that it is I just think of it as an example of a perfect pop rock song that it's just nothing else is like it, and it's unfortunate that they never really did anything like it ever again. The rest of their stuff is a lot more middle of the road. And I also find it amusing that one of the follow-up singles is called Driving Beat. It's nothing like Driver's Seat, but it kind of feels like that they were trying to at least get some of the attention from, oh hey look, it's the Driver's Seat guys. So yeah, I don't think they're that upset about their lack of continued success. Paul Roberts seems to be happy doing his art, and they still do stuff with the band occasionally. So yeah, I don't think we can feel too sorry for him. He seems to be doing okay for himself. And from Great Britain with Sniff and the Tears. Oh, I forgot to mention that the way Sniff and the Tears got their name. Paul Roberts wanted to call the band The Tears, but because he had hay fever, they decided to call it Sniff and the Tears because he kept sniffing. And on the subject of hay fever, actually, I want to bring this up. Simiana doesn't know about this, but I want to mention that she does have a song called Hey Hey It's the Fever. So I'm just going to play a clip of that because, yeah. Can't breathe, I sneeze, oh please, hay fever, at night, not right, the flight, hay fever, hey, it's the fever, hey, it's the fever. So for an English band like Sniff and the Tears, we're now going back to America, to New York, for Wheatus with Teenage Dirtbag.
'Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Yeah, I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Listen to Iron Maiden, baby, will you be?
And this is probably one of the biggest one-hit wonders of the last sort of 25 years. This song was absolutely huge. You still hear it everywhere, but you never really hear anything about Wheatus beyond that. The song was very much tied to the film Loser, which was oddly not that successful. Had it been connected to American Pie or something like that, you can sort of say, well, the film did a lot to sort of put it into people's minds a bit more. But instead it was connected to Loser, which didn't really do anything. So, in fact, I'd say that the song definitely eclipses the film. In fact, people probably think that the film plays out the story of the song, but it's actually, there is no real connection other than the fact that the song is in the film. And I think that the reason that this song was so successful really was just that it's different. It's sort of this acoustic folk thing, but it has sort of these hip-hop beats in it, the sort of record scratching and things like that, so it's a bit different in that regard. It's also got the novelty of it being a story song and something just a bit different. But then with Wheatus's other songs, with the singles that they followed it up with, it is just very much generic sort of alt rock of that era.
I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give me no reason. You know you're making me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling.
They have a song called Leroy is My Mojo Man. Well, actually, it's just called Leroy, but the song goes Leroy is My Mojo Man, which, based on the music video, appears to be about a roadie. And so that's got a good sort of sentiment to it, to sort of give spotlight to their roadie. But at the same time, it's just it's a meh song, I would describe it. I would say that about most of their other songs. They have a song called BMX Bandits.
Over and under we ride, in love with the suicide. Here we fuck with disaster and careful as something to hide.
And yeah, it's more of a punk song, and it's not bad, but it's not great. And you know, they're a competent enough band, but as with a lot of the other bands we talked about here, it is pretty much just the singer, and he's just sort of continued. Brendan Brown has just sort of continued doing things with various different lineups, and I think he's again the only original member left. So yeah, I can't really recommend anything they've done since Teenage Dirtbag, and even personally I'm not that big of a fan of it, but it was something different, so I'm going to give it 2 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. It is just a shame that they just sort of were middle of the road, mediocre, didn't really do anything special after that. Then we're back to Britain for Babylon Zoo. Now, Babylon Zoo's lead singer is Jazz Man. That's not his real name. And he has an interesting ethnic background because I believe he has both Indian as in people from India and Indian as in Native American heritage. He was heavily inspired by the likes of David Bowie and Mark Bolan, and the Bowie influence is certainly very clear in the big hit. The rest of the singles from that album just sort of sound like a lesser version of Oasis. And Oasis were generally not that great anyway. I mean, I like some of their songs. Noel Gallagher is a great songwriter, but Liam Gallagher is, I think was it Jimmy Carr says that Noel brought the songwriting ability and musicianship and Liam didn't. So yeah, when you've got that, and you're going to have a lesser version of that, then, and yeah, so the rest of the singles from that first album don't really do anything for me. And when the first single from the second album came out, it's just kind of a rehash of a kind of Mark Bolan, T-Rex kind of thing. Nothing all that special. I can see that he was sort of trying to go in a different direction with it, but I don't think it worked. And it was okay, but nothing great. But I will give Spaceman 3 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. As for Jazz Man, he has continued in the industry, mostly behind the scenes. He's also done some humanitarian work in India, so he seems like a great guy, and he seems to do a lot of work with helping other bands. So yeah, seems like a really cool dude. But at the same time, yeah, I can't really recommend the rest of his music that much. But that one song is amazing. And he has talked about maybe doing some more. So, yeah, ever since he's been talking about it for about 20 years. Maybe we will hear something eventually. But yeah, he seems to have a lot of talent. And yeah, maybe one day he will release something else as good as Spaceman. And now to close the show, we're going with perhaps the biggest of the one-hit wonders, the Knack.
4 weeks ago, Australia had never heard of the Knack, but in their homeland America, the Knack were rocketing towards a chart-busting record for their debut album, Get the Knack. In just 7 weeks, this album sold 1 million copies, placing them firmly in the #1 position across America. And judging from this week's chart reaction here, the same thing's going to happen in Australia. Doug Figger's got a quote: "If you don't know what diddy means, don't mess with it." Prescott Miles, Bert Novair, Bruce Gary and Doug Figger know what it means, and they're in Australia to prove it.
Now, when their big hit My Sharona came out, people were kind of saying these guys are going to be the next Beatles. They thought they were going to be absolutely massive. And it certainly looked that way based on My Sharona and how big that song was.
Oh, my little pretty one, when you gonna give me some time, Sharona? Oh, you make my motor run, gun it coming off of the line, Sharona. Never gonna stop, give it up, such a dirty mind, I always get it up, for the touch of the younger kind, whoa!
Unfortunately, they just never really followed it up with much. They did have another hit in Canada with Good Girls Don't.
So you fantasize away while you're squeezing her. You thought you heard her saying, good girls don't. Good girls don't. I should be telling you, good girls don't. But I do.
But I think the main problem they had was that they just kept trying to rewrite My Sharona. So you'd have Baby Talks Dirty, which is kind of like a different version of My Sharona.
Oh, my honey's not a sweet thing. None of my sweetie loves a real neat baby. I got to do it to her just right. She got to be in trouble all night. What you say, do it, yeah.
Then there's Mr. Handelman, which has a bit of a sort of a Caribbean influence to it, but is still very much a copy of My Sharona.
No, you won't need a waterbed to have a good time. Mr. Handleman, Mr. Handleman, take my wife home. Mr. Handleman, Mr. Handleman, Mr. Handleman, take my wife home. Take my wife home.
Then at various points they'd go a bit heavier, but it was just kind of like a heavier version of My Sharona. So it's unfortunate that they did seem to be incredibly talented, especially Doug Fieger, the lead singer-songwriter, but for whatever reason, they just seem to keep going back to that same beat and that same general idea. They were very much inspired by the Beatles. In fact, they did cover A Hard Day's Night.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working all night long. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping right along. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright.
And they would make several attempts at a revival, but it never really got anywhere, largely because they just kept rewriting My Sharona. But when you have a song that's that popular and that successful, what often happens is they become resentful of it. But I don't think they ever did. I think they generally owned it, possibly because there was a real Sharona. It was a romantic thing, but it did just become a friendship. And it seemed like they were still friends right up until the end of Doug's life. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But yeah, I think they just sort of kept lightning in a bottle with My Sharona. They could never really follow up on it. Doug would later do a song with Bruce Kulick from Kiss, which I thought was pretty good. but for the most part, I think they're always going to be known as that band that did My Sharona. But when the song's that good, you can't really fault that. So, yeah, I'm going to give My Sharona 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. So I hope you've enjoyed the first episode back of Murfer's Music Reviews. I'll be back in another month. We'll have several other Murferverse videos for you in the meantime. Probably Murph Chat next. There'll be something every Monday. So, yeah. Don't forget Home for the LD Lee. Don't forget to check out our TeePublic store as well. I am the Murfer. If you'd like to subscribe or something, that would be good, or leave a comment. And, yeah, thank you for watching Murfers Music Reviews. Hay fever, all day in the way of play.